So we are ready for the next presentation now. We have Professor Madhusudana Penna here, and he will be talking about Cosmology in the Purāna, a new appraisal. Something about Professor Madhusudanji. He's expert in Indian as well as Western philosophy and is a connoisseur in Vedanta, Nyaya Shastra and Yoga Shastra. He's well versed in Sanskrit literature, language and grammar. He is also a poet. So he has 2 epics written as mentioned here. The Pradnya Chakshun received the Sahitya Academy Award and Doctor of Literate by the Central Sanskrit University, Tirupati. He published about 27 books in Sanskrit, Telugu, Marathi and English, and many research papers in very renowned research journals. He is honored with Yuva V. Pashchit and Sanskrit Pandit, Pandit Satvelkar, Pandit Latkar Shastri Award, by Somnath Trust, and also as well as the Somnath Trust Gold Medal. So over to you, sir. Oh, so I missed one very important detail and apologies for that. So we are very eager to listen to you, sir. Thank you.
Shruti Smriti Purāṇānām Ālayam Karunālayam Namami Bhagavatpada Shankaram Loka Shankaram Narayanah Param Brahma Sarvakarana Karanam Prapadye Venkateshakyam Tadeva Kavacham Mama Asmat Gurubhyo Namaha. Suprabhatam. Good morning to all of you. And my humble pranam to Padma Bhushan Vijay Bhatkar sir and Professor Kalacharya madam and all the other dignitaries here. It's actually immediately after Vijay Bhatkar sir's lecture. Means it's very risky, I know, because he is a very popular speaker and a very great scientist. Unfortunately, I am neither. So I have my own limitations and I am well aware of the limitations also, but still I have something to share with you. And the topic given to me is Cosmology in the Purānas. We all know that Purāna is something that has come down to us traditionally. Pura api navam, pura aniti. So all these derivations, they tell us that whatever has come down to us through tradition is Purāna. And very typically, in the Vedic texts, we find mention of Purāna. So in the most ancient Vedic texts, we come across the word Purāna. That means in the Purāna, in the Vedas themselves, they are referring to some other texts or other, we can say, the traditional anecdotes. They are referring to them. So it is a very long tradition. But whatever Purāna literature is available now, that does not belong to a very ancient period. That is maybe first millennium BC, they say generally. In Upanishads also we have Purāna, Vako Vakya, the references to them. And some of the Upanishadic passages may be taken as Purāṇic passages also. Because they say, Itiha Uchuhu, Itiha Asa. So basically this particular the phrase, Itiha Asa, thus it was. Like we say, thus they spake, thus he spake. So thus it was, so it was. So this particular phrase, it later came down to us in the form of Itihasa. So that Itihasa and Purāna, these two are the very important components of Vedic philosophy and cosmology. And that's why the ancient texts tell us and almost warn us against a very hasty interpretation of Vedic texts, saying that Itihasa Purāṇabhyam Vedam Samupa Brahmayet Bibheti Alpashrutad Vedaha Mamayam Praharishyati iti. So they say that Itihasa and Purāna both are required to substantiate the ideology of the Veda. Itihasa Puranabhyam Vedam sam upabrahmayet, they say. That means if you have something called Veda, then you can really understand, interpret, substantiate the idea of Veda only if you have thorough knowledge of these two, Itihasa and Purana. Because there are so many such references in the Veda, the Itihasa and Purana references. And that's why people say that Puranas have emerged from the Veda, so therefore later literature. But I find that since there are references to Puranas in the Vedas, so Itihasa Puranabhyam Vedam Samupabrahmayet means that if you don't know the proper tradition of that, you will definitely misinterpret the Veda. So Bibheti Alpashrutat Vedaha. So therefore, the Veda is also afraid of such a dull-witted person. Mamayam praharishyati. He will definitely mar the beauty of this Veda or the depth of this Veda, profundity of this. So it will be totally destroyed. So that is the fear. And it says, please don't venture onto any kind of interpretation unless you are fully equipped with the thorough knowledge of Itihasa and Purana. So there, the Purana has its own significance. And those Puranas on which the entire Vedic ideology is based, later the original Puranas were lost, and then Vedavyasa Maharshi had to reorganize everything, including the Veda. We all know the story that Vedavyasa Maharshi, he had to rearrange the structure of the Veda, saying that this Gitishu Samakhya or the mantra, they are the Rig Veda mantra. So Ruchaha, Samani, Yajugumshi. So this way he had classified them. And similarly, he had classified the Puranas also. Because the credit of developing a Purana literature, that definitely belongs to Vyasa Maharshi. And in the olden days, there was the tradition that some people used to carry the lore, the Vedic lore, to the society. Like Suta, Magadha, Vandi. There are differences, of course, because even in the Ashwamedha Yaga, they used to narrate from the ancient tradition. Pariplavam Achakshate, they used to say. And that particular one shows that even in the Veda, because Ashwamedha Yaga, if you find in the Krishna Yajurveda, they say Pariplavam Achakshate. That means the bards there are supposed to sing or narrate from the ancient tradition. That means these are not the available records of human intellectual development. Okay, but before that also such texts existed, but these are lost now. Then Vedavyasa Maharshi, with great effort, he had organized this thing. Some people argue that Vedavyasa is not a person. Vedavyasa was not a single individual. Vedavyasa was an institute, etc. But in the Bhagavata Purana, in Mahabharata, and in some other Puranas also, we have very explicit references to Vedavyasa Maharshi, his life, his contribution. So he is an individual. And he had classified the Puranas. And now whatever we have with us, the Purana literature, this credit goes to Vedavyasa Maharshi. And according to the subject matter and according to the nature of the Purana also, we have the classification like Shaiva Purana, Vaishnava Purana, Shakta Purana, then Satvika Purana, Tamasa Purana, Rajasa Purana. So depending on what kind of message they give or what kind of subject matter is found in there. So depending on that only, that name is given to the Puranas. And now the basic purpose of Purana, as we find in the tradition, is the Panchalakshanam. Of course, Bhagavata is Dashalakshani. Elsewhere it is Panchalakshani. Sargascha, Pratisargascha, Vamsho, Manvantaranicha, Vamshanu Charitamcha. These are the 5 characteristics of a Purana. So generally, a Purana is supposed to give information about these things, elaborate these things, elucidate some of these. First is Sarga. So, if any text is to be considered as a Purana text. So it should begin with the creation. That's why Vishnu Purana, it begins with creation only. Whereas in the Bhagavata Purana, we find in the third skandha, then fifth skandha. That means immediately after Shuka Maharshi, that is in the second skandha, we find a mention of creation, sarga. So, sarga and pratisarga. Some people say pratisarga is dissolution. Some people say it is similar creation. But mostly sarga and pratisarga, like prasava, pratiprasava, like that. That means creation and dissolution. Evolution and devolution. So these two, sargascha, pratisargascha. Then other important features of Purana are Vamsha. That means how the dynasties developed. Manvantara, that Chaturdasha Manu and the Manvantaras, how they developed. Vamshanu Charitam, that means how each Vamsha developed further. Who were the best rulers of that particular period. So these are the basic 5 features. But Bhagavata Purana has a different purpose. It says, along with these, it sthanam, poshanam, uti, nigraha. So these are all taken into consideration. And in this particular aspect, we find that cosmology always played an important role in the formation of Purana literature. So all the Puranas, Ashtadasha we say, the Mahapurana, Upapurana, and later also whatever was named as Purana, there we find a good treatment of the topic of cosmology. In the Bhagavata Purana, not in the beginning, but in the later chapters, we find a very fine description of all the Chaturdasha Bhuvana, then Jambudvipa, Bharatavarsha, Bharatakhanda, and all the other things here in the Bharatakhanda. So all these are explained in detail. So we understand that the purpose of this Purana literature was to create a kind of awareness amongst us about the place we are in, not only the small physical area, but the earth, and the earth situated in the solar system and the solar system in the galaxy. So from the visible to the invisible, from the minutest to the grossest, they actually wanted to take us to that. And finding a kind of identity for us in the cosmos. So that was the purpose. So that's why in the Sankalpa also they used to say, so we are here. Bharatavarshe, Bharatakhande, Meroh, Dakshanik Bhage, so and so, Ishanya Pradeshe, Mama Grihe. So this is finding ourselves and longitudinally and latitudinally. So that is also given there. And that means in space and time, where are we exactly? So that is in Sankalpa they have given. And Puranas give all this information in a very arranged manner. Now when it comes to cosmology, Bhagavata Purana relates that to Narayana, that is Vasudeva, Sri Krishna. So it is ultimate reality and everything should be taken in that direction only. While the other Puranas, because they belong to the other category, because the prime deity of that particular Purana is a different one, so naturally there is every effort to take everything in that direction. Now, all these Harivamsha Purana and other also, they keep in a higher position Vasudeva. That is Vasudeva, 2 types of Vasudeva. One is Vasudeva Putra, that's Sri Krishna, and another is Tantric. In Tantra Shastra also there is the mention of one Vasudeva. In Jaina Agama also we have one Vasudeva. And this Sri Krishna Tattva, it is promoted in the Bhagavata Purana, in the Harivamsha Purana, and in all the other. So, this cosmology and cosmogony. So, when we take these and study the Purana literature, because I had the fortune of translating the first 2 khanda of Skanda Purana, that is Kedara Khanda and Kaumarika Khanda, till the Arunachala Mahatmya part, I could translate some 6,000 verses. So during that particular period also, I was studying the Purana text. Then I delivered several lectures on Bhagavata Purana. I had the fortune of delivering the Sanskrit, first Sanskrit Bhagavata Pravachana, 10 days for Samskrita Bharati. So that was a divine experience, understanding Bhagavata Purana, and that is through the eyes of Sridhariya. So that was really wonderful. And during that particular period, I was trying to understand the cosmology. Why a devotee should know the Sarga and Pratisarga. Why this creation, dissolution? Because he is totally engrossed in the Krishna Tattva, Vasudeva Tattva. Then why everything else? But the answer is found in the Bhagavata Purana itself. It says that Yatra Trisargo Mrusha. It says in the very first one, Tejo Vari Mridam Vinimayo Yatra Trisargo Mrusha. This is the invocatory verse. Janmaat Diyasya Yatonvayaditaratas Artheshvabhijñaswarat. So in that, everything lies. Because this particular shloka is the essence of the entire Bhagavata Purana, the entire Brahma Sutra. And you find very typically the philosophy of Jnaneshwar Maharaj also in that. The first one. Because in the Jnaneshwari, there may be some Maharashtrian here. So in Jnaneshwari somewhere, Jnaneshwar Maharaj says, that means Arjuna says, but it is, we all know that the poet wants to speak through the character. So Jnaneshwar Maharaj says, see, Ihi dohi dole jhom bhave vishwarupa sagad. He says, I would like to get the complete vision of that Vishwarupa through these two eyes. So with these eyes, I want to get the complete darshana of Vasudeva. Now, this is exactly the verbatim translation of what Jnaneshwar Maharaj said. But our Gulabrao Maharaj says in one of his texts, he is the propounder of Madhuradvaita in the modern times. So he says, Dohi Dola, that means only not physical eyes. So some people say with these eyes, two eyes. Then he says, why to mention the number 2? When it is understood, why to mention this? Then he says, the answer is given in the first one, Anvaya Vyatirekatascha. So this is there. That means Anvaya is one eye and Vyatireka is another eye. I want to see the Bhagavan when I am in the contemplative mood, and even when I come out of that also, I want to see everything as God. So these are the two visions I want to procure, I want to get. So this insight he gives there. And the purpose of that is given there only, that Janmalabhav pare pumsam ante narayana smriti. Ante, he says. What is the end of that? End of whom? End of the individual, end of the ego, end of the congregation of all these, or end of the universe? So that is a big problem. For that he wants to say, see, the universe you are in is a vast thing. Sir was quoting in his previous lecture, Athato Brahma Jijñasa, Atha Ataha Brahma Jijñasa. And now, therefore, an inquiry into the nature of Brahma. What is Brahma? And that Brahma is explained throughout Bhagavata Purana. And that Brahma is the vastness. It is not this, not this. Because the problem is, the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad itself discards everything, saying that Neti, Athata, Atha, Ataha, Adesho, Neti, Neti. So now the instruction, no, not this, not this. Not this means what? Neti, Neti 2 times. Then Shankaracharya says, first na and second na, they are deliberately used to indicate something. He says, first na is to discard all bhutarashi, the material things. Second na is to discard all the vasana rashi. That means all the swapnik. So both are to be discarded. Then he has used it twice. So that is his interpretation, okay. And when all limitations are discarded, then whatever is remaining is the Brahma. So, unlimited, that vastness itself is the Brahma. Now, this particular Adhato Brahma Jijnasa Sutra, that is opening the window into a vast thought, or you can say a different world altogether, that is Brahma. And that is based on the Upanishads. So in the Upanishads, everywhere we come across mention of Brahma in this form or that form, in this way or that way. So ultimately it is there. Now it is to be reconciled with. And that attempt is made in the Brahma Sutra. So naturally when we go back, we find that the Brahma, as in the 6th Khanda of Chandogya Upanishad, the Sadeva Prakarana, there is a chapter in the Chandogya Upanishad, Sadeva Saumya Idamagra Asit, starts like this. Sadeva Saumya Idamagra Asit. So there, to the small child it is said, my boy, all this was existent or real before. Before means Sruhtehe Agre, that is commentator's addition. So before creation, that means before its creation, everything was real only. Then Sadeva Somya Idamagra Asit Ekameva Advitiyam Brahma. So there he has used the word Brahma. Now, in between these two, everything comes in. Like Idam, that means whatever is manifested, whatever is a matter of experience to us with name and form. Idam, Agre, before creation. What was that? When people don't see anything, so naturally they say it is complete voidness, Shunyam. So Shunyam is a possibility. Before its creation, everything was only Shunya, Asat. Yes, possible. But Upanishad says, not Shunya nor Asat. It was Sadeva. Then if it was Sat, why was that it was not comprehended as such? If something is real, it should be comprehended as real. That's what our Nyaya Bhashya says. Sat, Asat. It says, Yadi chet upalabhyeta. Yadi tatra syat upalabhyeta. Anupalabdha abhavaha. Anupalabdhehe abhavaha. So this is the general logical pattern. That if something is there, it should be a matter of experience. If it is not experienced, you understand it's not there. So this is the general logic. But Sankhya Darshana has added to that, saying that if something is not comprehended or grasped, you cannot come to the conclusion that it is not there. There are several factors that may be affecting the knowledge of that object, like Sukshmatvat, Atidurat, Samipyat, Indriya Ghatat, Mano Anavadhanat. These are all several factors. Because of that, even an existing thing may not be grasped or properly received. So we should take into consideration all these. A very minute thing is not received generally because our senses have some limitation. So therefore, with the help of our senses, we cannot grasp it. If something is very far also, we cannot grasp it. So if our senses are not in with proper capability, then also it is not grasped. And even if our mind is not stable, it is not properly grasped. So several things are there. That's why they say there may be something which may be causing this projection of the universe and withdrawal, but we as human beings have some limitations. We are unable to receive as it is. Then how to know? Because when it comes within the limitations of our senses, then we can know that it is there. But we are not grasping. You say that it is there, then how to believe? Then they said, you apply your logic. If these factors are met with, then it is there. They have given Saukshmyat tad anupalabdhihi. The Prakriti is not grasped or known generally because it is very, very, very subtle. Thus, subtle things are not grasped generally. A special intellectual effort needs to be made. Then, the Bhagavata Purana also tries to take us from the grossest to the subtlest, so that we can get into the subtlest topic. Then we understand that that is real, and it will be a personal understanding. When such personal understandings or knowledge are endorsed, then it becomes a Shastra. So Shastra is nothing but personal experience of Maharshis endorsed. See, it is Pramāṇika. Then it becomes Shastras to all. So everybody may not get the same experience, but there is possibility that they can get the experience. Now, with this background, when we study the Purānas, we find very interesting facts that the Brahma Sutra is a later composition. So that's why before that, if we see, we had Purānas only. Not these Purānas, but older. Because many references are made to such kind of passages in the ancient literature, like Brahmana Grantha, Aranyaka Grantha. So naturally, it presupposes the existence of such kind of literature even before the Darshana Vangmaya. So all the available Brahma Sutra, Sankhya Sutra, Nyaya, Vaiseshika, these are all later. So therefore, there was a kind of literature, but which is the base of everything. Now, so many problems, they come up along with that. So the concept of Brahma, and along with that, so many problems. Because putting them in proper places is a very difficult one. The manifested world, if you are satisfied with that, no problem. But many people are not satisfied with the material world, because as you grow into maturity, you are not satisfied with this. You try to find a meaning behind. Automatically, you try to, in search of something, you make effort. So, second thing, manifested must have a cause that is unmanifested definitely, whether it is consciousness or matter. Now, this question is to be answered. In the Purana literature, we find that the manifested world does definitely have a cause. Naturally, we say, Karana gunaha karya gunan arabhante. This is Vaiseshika doctrine, which means that the properties of the cause should naturally continue in the effect. That means the effect carries the properties of the cause. So, when this manifested world is inert, limited, it presupposes that the cause should also be limited, inert. This is the general logic. So, from this logic, that means from effect to the cause, the apparent logical fallacy is that from this manifested inert world, we are trying to reach to unmanifested but inert cause. So that is also inert. We are making an inert cause. And Sankhya did that. Sankhya philosophy, we find Prakriti, that is Sattva, Rajas, Tamo, Gunatmika, we say generally, Trigunamayi Prakriti, Sattva, Rajas, Tamasam, Samyavastha Prakriti. So many definitions are there. And Sankhya and Yoga, they say that since this world is of these characteristics, its cause must be of these characteristics only. And they stopped there. And when they realized that the inert Prakriti cannot create, automatically they have included or accepted the participation of Purusha, that consciousness. So the consciousness principle is also taken, and its participation is also shown there. This is passive participation, not active. Because in the process of creation, Prakriti has active participation while Purusha has passive participation. Mere presence, they said. But that led to several other problems. And naturally, the Vedanta system started bombarding, saying that if your cause is inert, how can it produce? Because the agentship, or you can say the ability to create something, is found in the conscious principle, not a inert one. So your inert Prakriti cannot create on its own. And of course, Sankhya also do never say that Prakriti creates on her own. They also say Prakriti Purusha Sanyogaha Tat Krita Sargaha. So ultimately the creation is an evolution, a result in the form of evolution from the combination of these two. Combination should not be understood in the temporal or spatial parameters. It's not spatial combination or association. It is not temporal also. It is only a kind of participation like enjoyer and enjoyed, experiencer and experienced. So this is the relation between the manifested and unmanifested. That much they could do. But as I told you, this much philosophy was not sufficient because other several questions were not answered at all. They were left unanswered. Like the guiding force, like the all-pervading force, like the division during the process of creation. So naturally, the other schools asked, see, when something is created from, for example, Y is created from X, they say whether X is totally modifying, is it a kind of modification? If it is modification, what does really modify? They asked. Second, if it is not modification, is it an appearance? That means an apparent causation or real causation? The other schools asked, like the Nayayika, Vaiseshika. So they asked because they are the realists. Then Vedanta had to take up all these and they said, your atoms, your Prakriti, these are not the cause of creation. It is something else. And that particular something else is taken as X. In the beginning of the Brahma Sutra, Adhato, Brahma Jijnasa. Now an inquiry into that X. What is that? Yasmin Vijnate Sarvamidam Vijnatam Bhavati. On knowing that particular one, everything will be knowing. You know everything. What is that? That is X. And that is yet to be proved. And all the 555 sutras of Brahma Sutra, according to Shankaracharya, they actually deal with this. That X. Because it is popular to Vedic scholars, not to all. So to all the other schools, it is to be established that Brahma. That's why they say, Janmadhyasya yataha Shastra Yonitvat Tattu Samanvayat. So all the 4 sutras, they lay the foundation for the entire cosmology. Because this expansion, the vastness, is the Brahma. And that Brahma is not emptiness. It's not matter. It is different from both. And they say it is Chetana, Chaitanya. It is consciousness. So this actually distinguishes the Indian understanding of cosmic reality from that of the Western. Because the other, they don't include this. Even Descartes said, mind is consciousness. They don't go beyond that. Because there is no strong logic, they say. Consciousness is limited to the mind level only. But as Patanjali Maharshi says towards the end of the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, Sada jnatas chittavrittayaha tat prabhov purushasya aparinamitvat, they say. That means mind and beyond. So there is something beyond the mental level. And mind is also an observed one, not the observer, he says. So this is Patanjali's understanding of that. And he wants to say, if you don't accept that, then the entire yoga philosophy is baseless. Why? Because the yoga philosophy, as propounded by Patanjali Maharshi in the Yoga Sutra, says, Atha Yoganushāsanam, Yogas Chittavritti Nirodhaha. Third is, Tada Drashtu Swarupe Avasthanam. That means, two sutras are correlated. Chittavritti Nirodha and Drashtu Swarupa Avasthana. That means, first he says, you put a check to your thought flow, fun. That means vritti nirodha, chitta vritti nirodha. And then he says, you will be established in your own form. That is Chaitanya. So automatically Chaitanya and the chitta vritti, they become different. And if you think that mind is everything, then there is no question of remaining established in another state of consciousness. There is no chance at all, because all the functions of mind, they are stopped, that's all. So naturally, it leads to shunyata, a kind of shunyata, blankness, wideness, that's all. But Patanjali Maharshi says, in the state of samadhi, it is not complete blankness, there is Chaitanya, you are not aware of that, but at least you know about it, you infer, as Panchadashikara Vidyaranya Swami says, Tada vidyamanapi vrittayaha tada nanubhuyante vittane anumiyante. So in the Panchadashi he says that when you get up, that means come out of the state of samadhi, you realize that so long you were in the state of samadhi, that is pure consciousness. So pure consciousness is something very difficult to understand. What is the purity of consciousness? Consciousness is always pure. But Shankaracharya says that contamination is nothing but its apparent oneness with the internal sense organ, the ahankara, buddhi, man. So as long as they are there with the consciousness, it is impure. And once it is removed, it is pure. And that is tadadrashtuhu swarupe avasthanam. So the entire yoga philosophy is also based on that. Now, in the process of this, they want to take us to that particular reality, which is the base of all creation, all development, all expansion. They want to show that. Vedanta has taken the topic and it has made all fruitful efforts to establish what it is, saying that it does not change into something. Chitishakti aparinamini, darshita vishaya, shuddhacha, anantacha, all these are there. So it is Chitishakti, they said, it is Chaitanya, consciousness itself. Potentially consciousness, you can say. But if that is the cause of the universe, then the effect that is the universe, that is, you may say produced, though Vedantins don't say produced. Ajativada is also there, Gaudapadacharya. There is no creation at all. They say, like our physicist Hoyle, and even Jayanta Narlikar sir, they say that there was no creation at all. It is always like this. Even in the Mimamsa system, we find that it's always like this. Nahi kadachit anidrusham jagat. So therefore, this world is like this only. There was no creation, no dissolution, don't worry, like that. So this, if something called ex Brahma is supposed to be the cause of everything, then whatever is said to be produced from that must possess the same characteristics. Then everything around should be consciousness, should be eternal, should be unmanifested. But the problem is, whatever we understand as the product of Brahma is limited, inert. It has some other properties, not the Brahma properties. That is the problem. And therefore it says very clearly that Antavatvam asarvajnatapatteva. In Brahma Sutra somewhere he says, if you say that Brahma is the cause of this, then Brahma will become either limited or a non-omniscient principle, because it is the product, it is the cause of this product. Then automatically it presupposes that Brahma is the not cause of that. Then Badarayana Maharshi takes this topic for discussion and says, okay, what options you have? You come with all your options. Let us discuss. Let us first discard all your options, then we settle with ours. Because in modern physics also we tried all. The string model we have tried, the Big Bang, the stimulating theory we have tried, the pulsating, all these things, vibrations, everything. And now the physicists, I'm very sorry, great scientists may be here, but including Stephen Hawking, recent great scholar, Lucasian professor of mathematics. So, including Stephen Hawking, everybody said that there is no conclusive theory in support of some creation. Or you can say, regarding the cosmology, whatever is there, we are trying to understand that. And several efforts have been made. Then, when you are not satisfied with the existing models, why don't you try something in our tradition? So when you approach our literature with that, then you can find there that very typically they are pointing towards one conscious principle called Brahma. And if you are allergic with the word Brahma, no problem. You may say X, no problem at all. Because they are not bothered about the word. They are bothered about that particular real. Why that word is given to that Brahma? Because they said, no, depending on the nature of that, we have given the word. As Shankaracharya says, Brahma, Bruha, Vruddhau. The expansion itself is Brahma, and we have named that. Somebody says, no, Brahma is different with 4 heads, and this Brahma is different. These people say, yes, we also say that Chaturmukha Brahma is masculine. Brahma. And what we are talking about in Vedanta Sutra Upanishad is Brahma, neuter gender. It is neither masculine nor feminine. And that word is Brahma. Tadeva Brahma tvam vidhi nedam yedidam upasate. Tad Brahma vijijñāsitavyam. So nowhere in the Upanishadic literature you find the word Brahma with a long syllable in the end. Brahma, no. Tasmai Brahma cha ayuh kirtim prajam daduhu. So in the famous mantra also you find this Brahma cha. So 2 are there. Dve Brahmani veditavye. The Upanishads pointing to that. So that particular Brahma is always expanding, and expansion, the Sanskrit word for that is Brahma, and other Sanskrit word is Vishnu. Vishnu is the word coined for that. In Vishnu Sukta, in Veda it is there. And it is a wonderful word. It is talking about this expansion, that's all, nothing else. But that expansion is not just materialistic. In modern science, it is completely materialistic. And consciousness is also a product of matter. But according to the ancient cosmological principle, matter is consciousness, not consciousness is matter. Very typical. Another Einstein may have to take birth to prove how it is. Because E is equal to mc square, then M is equal to E and C square. So like that, something he has to try out. So this happened that consciousness is always expanding, it's its nature. And on the basis of that, we have named it as Brahma, Vishnu. even Vasudeva, because it is both Vasati, Divyati. Both aspects are there. Vasati is Vasu, Divyati is Deva. That means it subsists in everything, it pervades in everything, it is present throughout everything, and it is shining forth. Now the problem is, the player is being played. We are the spectator and we are part of the game. So we are forgetting that we are also involved in that, in the entire process. So if we put ourselves in the process and try to observe everything, then we understand that it is Vishnu, Vasu and Deva. That's why in Kashmiri Shaivism they say, Prakasha and Vimarsha, both aspects need to be taken into consideration if you want to understand the reality in totality. Prakasha and Vimarsha. That is, it is manifesting everything, at the same time it is self-referent. And that aspect is present in all of us. Self-referent. Ki, me, through this body, me, expressing myself. So everybody is doing the same thing. And it is the characteristic of something, the source of the entire creation. They say it is. So it has this Vimarsha aspect. Otherwise they say it will be like any matter, like the sun, stars, etc. Other stars. It will be like that. Because matter can also illuminate something. But it is not Vimarshamaya. So this Vimarsha aspect should be taken into account. Vimarsha aspect is self-revelation. And along with that, it is functioning in the form of the universe. So this is the crux of the entire Purāṇa cosmology, with slight difference. If you take Markandeya Purāṇa, you find there the discourse of Markandeya, very clearly he says that in the beginning there was Brahma. It starts with Brahma. In other Purāna it may start with Avyakta, but in this Purāna it is Brahma. Like in the Genesis, in the beginning there was God, and he said, let there be light, and there was light. And very typically in the Narada Purāna, similar phrases are found. Saha bhuriti vyaharat bhur babhuva. So he said, in the beginning he was there. He said, let there be earth, and there was earth. So similar. Some people say maybe an of invasions, foreign travelers here, all that. But you find such expressions in the Purāna. So the Markandeya Purāna, Narada Purāna, Skanda Purāna, Vishnu Purāna, Bhagavata Mahapurāna. Among all these Puranas, Vishnu Purāna is the most ancient one. Even in the Shashtamsha, you find some stray references to this, how the creation took place. And even if we study at least one Purāna, we understand that there are many similarities between the Purāna cosmological ideology and the Sankhya and Vedanta ideology. Vedanta has later adopted the Sankhya one. Those they say Sankhya, Pradhana, Mallayate, etc. They have adopted. Because at the beginning level, there are no differences at all. At the higher level only problems. So, how they have propounded this? First thing is, some unmanifested avyakta reality was there. That avyakta, maybe the singularity principle according to the modern physics, maybe before creation 10 to the power of minus 43 seconds you can say, and that particular point of time, people may say nothing was there. Nothing was there. And this is self-contradictory. Vidyaranya Swami has pointed out. So when you say na asat asit, how can you say na asat asit? This is contradictory. On one side you are saying that asat, and you are saying that asit. So this asit is the verbal form that can go with an existent thing, not non-existent thing. So that logical fallacies they have pointed out. But something was there, avyakta. And now creation started. But why? Why creation? How? And Chandogya Upanishad, Markandeya Purana, Bhagavata Purana, they focus there, they give that it is Sankalpa, Ikshana. They have used the word Sankalpa, Ikshana. That means desire. Now the problem with physicists is that how can that, the source of everything, think? Because to think, it requires a mind. Mind is also a product. It is yet to be created. Then how can you say that the Brahma thought? How can he think? He or she or it. That is the problem. Then in Shankaracharya philosophy they say, the thought is not in the normal sense. It is a kind of vibration. The throb, the first vibration required for the creation. That first vibration is the Ikshana, Sankalpa. Gulabra Maharaj also says, it is Spurana Nyaya. Go Spurana Nyaya, he uses. He says, just like a cow is standing there and there is an insect on its skin and it just shivers. Though that particular insect is somewhere, some particular point, the entire body shivers. Similarly, it says that the entire vibration throughout Brahma is the first cause. The initial force required for creation. Then immediately all the potential energies, they come into the kinetic one, and within few seconds, not many seconds, very few seconds, that means 1, 2, 3, 4 only, your antimatter, all the required state is created for that antimatter. Then automatically you have anti particles there. Then immediately after that, within 10 or 11 seconds, we know that other necessary thing for the nucleus is created. Then maybe about 14 seconds after this the nucleus is formed. So this is a general understanding. Nobody has physically seen that. It is logically they have arrived at that particular conclusion that this must be the congenial thing that has provoked creation. So this is this. Now, what has caused, how it has taken place, why it has taken place, and how it is being perceived. All these 4 are topics of 4 different Shastras. First, what? Vedanta. And what happened there? Vedanta and some other darshana. How, why it happened? That is only metaphysics. Because science does not say anything about the purpose of this. Why? It says it is so. Then, whatever is there, the description of this is also a part of cosmology. In Bhagavata Purana, in other Purana also, we find very clear exposition of all these things, like multi-universe concept is there, Brahma Anda, the cosmic egg theory is there, and recently the physicists have come to that. Though our people had long back used the word Anda, Brahma Anda, and very typical that they have taken the word Anda always to signify this universe. They have looked upon this as some egg. And egg in the sense that it contains the vital ingredient within. And they want to show to that the entire universe contains the seed force within. So it is therefore multiplying. So this process is within the Brahma Anda. The golden cosmic egg theory is also now popular, very popular. Within the Brahmanda, which is endless, as Sir said, Einstein also made efforts and he clearly said it is endless. But expanding, maybe at the speed of some 4 to 5 kilometers per second with that speed, as Hubble has calculated, and Max Planck constant also shows the same thing. So it is expanding. And it is creating space for its own expansion. Very typical. But this space is different from Brahma according to Vedanta. Space is Brahma according to Raghunatha Shiromani Navya Nyaya. So very, very typical these things. And Madam is getting up. That means a clear signal that you should stop. So, yes ma'am, yes ma'am. So many things are there. Then in this Brahmanda, they have spoken of 14 bhuvana, Chaturdasha bhuvana. Whether these are physical or psychological, that is also disputed. The Chaturdasha bhuvana, are they to be taken in the physical sense or only psychological experiences? Because Shankaracharya says, Ananda namate loka andhena tamasavrata tanste pretya abhi gachanti yekecha atmahano janaha. So while commenting on this mantra, Shankaracharya says, lokaha nama anubhavaha, anubhava vishayaha. So when we say loka, lokyate, anubhuyate, we are in the Manushya Loka because we all believe that we are addressing humans and we are all humans. Maybe we find ourselves in animal bodies and then we realize we Pashu Loka. So it is a Loka. Then 7 upper regions, 7 nether regions, Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Rasatala, Mahatala, Patala, Bhuh, Bhuvaha, Suvaha, Mahaha, Janaha, Tapaha, Satyaloka. All these are very clearly mentioned in almost all the Purānas. Along with other sciences, they have given very clear description of this cosmology in all the Purānas, barring some minor. Then they have given the earth and the geographical situation of this. Then Meru Parvata. Then there is mention of 2 Meru. That's why again confusion. Whether it is North Pole or anything else. So people say Meru Kosha. Meru Koh, they say. Koh means in Persian, it is Parvata. So therefore they say it must be somewhere in the Afghanistan area. Not beyond that. The North Pole is, of course, we are very clear that it is the topmost. But just above this Bharatavarsha also there is one Meru Koh. So such things are. And in Bhagavata, towards the end of that, very clear description, minutest description of all these, like how much distance between Jambudvipa, Plaksha, Kusha, Krauncha, Shakha, Shalmala. All these Dvipa. And what is the difference between 2 Dvipas? What is the distance between Earth and other planetary bodies? So all these details are given in the Puranas. Then they have given the details of the first humans, Aditi Kashyapa, Aditi and Kashyapa. So naturally we say one lady, one gent, male and female, because we are bisexual creation. But they are not talking about that. They want to say Diti is the word that comes from though avakhandane, that is cut, divided, broken, fragmentary, diti. Whatever is born from that is daitya. But whatever is aditi, undivided, single force, united, unified, that is aditi. That is the first one from.
So that becomes the most important message that we take also from the cosmology and the purpose of this particular conference.